Welcome, everyone, to Finding Common Battlegrounds. This is our podcast about politics, but we try to look at both sides, both the liberal and the conservative side of things, and try to find what we have in common. We got both views present here. Ryan representing the liberal view, got red, that's one color, and Josh representing the conservative view. He's wearing blue. Why do we do this? I don't know, but I guess we're trying to see it from the other person's side.
I have like 3 blue shirts and like 1 blue hoodie, and it just every time we do a podcast, I just happen to be wearing one.
Same.
I don't plan it, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I have a lot of blue stuff, but I wear
Try to
red
be
all
neutral.
the time. Tom, you should just wear purple every time.
Right. Yes. We're going to be talking about pardons, presidential pardons. We got a lot of pardoning going on. Biden's pardoning people and Trump's pardoning people. So yeah, we're going to talk about this, and it's going to be good. Shout out to our sponsor, Lux Bidets. We all are big fans of bideting.
Love me a Lux bidet.
Woo!
Yay. That was a resounding kind of selling point for the ad is at the end, everybody. We don't hit you with the ads at the beginning, but this is our shout out to Lux Bidet.
I'm always self-conscious about going too far now because you say Debbie hates it so much.
Oh, but I think it's hilarious. Making her squirm cracks me up.
All right.
Josh?
What were you going to say, Josh? You were about to say something, and then we're like, "Oh, we should record it."
Oh.
And now we're recording.
Well, I was thinking today, last time we did the podcast, I thought it'd be really quick, and I thought we'd kind of agree. I don't remember what we talked about, but we ended up going on for like 2 hours because we found a lot of interesting nuance to discover. And today I was like, well, we're just gonna, like, I can go through my talking points in 30 seconds, and I bet Ryan could do the same. But we're probably going to be here for 2 hours because we said before the podcast, hour and a half is our max tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably be here for 3 hours, but it seems really simple. I'll just preface it. You hate the Trump pardons. I hate the Biden pardons. Like, there's a little more nuance to it, but not much more.
Can I simplify it even further?
Sure.
Can we all agree that the president should not have pardoning power?
Not to this extent. I mean, it's way too much power.
Well, the presidential power in general, like there's not a good like executive power doesn't have a good definition, and I don't think it like the Constitution never gave it, and so there's always been this thing of like, well, how far can you go? And it's sort of weird. You're like, I'm going to pardon Hunter for everything he ever did and will do,
and
it's like,
and
his kids and his kids'
that
kids.
Work? Yeah, exactly. Right?
It's crazy.
9 generations.
Okay. I was telling my son, he's 12 years old. He was asking me about, what's Trump doing now that he's elected? And I was like, well, his first day, he had a whole bunch of executive orders. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, let's go through the checks and balances system. The legislative branch, they interpret the laws, and the judicial branch, they interpret the laws, and the legislative branch, they create the laws, and the executive branch, they just kind of do whatever they want because they have so much power now. Trump's just creating laws and putting them into place, and like, it's crazy. Like, I didn't even know how to explain it to my son now because it's so out of whack now. Trump's just threw out 90 executive orders or 200, however many it was. Like, I lost track. Some of them I really like. Some of them, but at the same time, it's like, wow, he has that much power. And the funniest thing I saw, we're already way off on a tangent. I saw this meme of liberals, or it wasn't even a meme. It was liberals, videos of actual liberals with video at the border, and there was cops and border patrol at the border an hour after he signed the executive order to stop it. And within an hour, all of the inflow of illegal immigrants was stopped. And these liberals were like, it was that easy? That's all Biden had to do? Just had to sign his name on a paper and we stopped it? Like, why didn't he do it? They were shocked. So it's amazing. I mean, I think that's a good one, but it's amazing that the president has that much power.
Well, so let me ask, because I'm assuming I understand this, but like any kind of congressional law that's passed is going to would trump an executive order, right? Plus,
good pun, but yes.
Yeah, plus a Supreme Court ruling would trump a executive order, right?
Probably, though those are going to be debated in the court. So like the one that he passed, or the one that he signed saying that being born in the US doesn't grant you citizenship, that's already been stayed. So immediately something like 20 something states with the help of the ACLU sued, saying, come on, this is literally the 14th Amendment. This is never going to fly. And a federal judge has already stayed that. So his executive order, it's done.
But the point I'm making is that the Supreme Court, or also Congress, is so like bottlenecked, right?
Yeah.
They just always had trouble getting things out, that like that almost empowers the executive branch, because they're like, well, go ahead and stop me. If you can pass something to stop me, I'm gonna keep going until you can.
That's not how it was originally meant to be. That none of them are supposed to have as much power as they have. And in my mind, the executive branch should have power to make quick decisions when we need them in like a war. But on the first day in office, to just issue 200 executive orders, even though I agree with a lot of them, it's crazy.
Well, it's the dysfunction of Congress, but it's actually, it's really complicated. I read a great article where some of the founding fathers didn't know how much power to give the president, but it's because they were thinking of George Washington being the president for life, and he actually was willing to give up power, right? Like he didn't want to have that much power. He was kind of begrudgingly willing to be president.
Well, that's why he's a hero.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's kind of an amazing guy, but like, so they kept saying like, we'll give you more power. And he's like, I don't want more power, right? Like
they're trying to bribe him with their own thing.
Don't do it, right? So they actually were debating how much power to give right at the beginning. And, you know, I think it's actually quite telling that for a long time, presidents didn't have that much power. And then we hit the dysfunction, basically starting with like the Clinton administration on, where Congress has been almost completely dysfunctional, right? Like they pass stuff as needed, not in advance.
Yeah.
And it's
after the 7 days after the government shut down.
Right. It's just a gridlock. And every president successively has issued more executive orders because it's the only way to get things done, because our Congress is so deadlocked, right? It's gridlocked. Right. They just can't make decisions.
Which makes them more powerful.
The president, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way too much power.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done. See, we finished in what, like 8 minutes?
Yeah.
We found common ground. We're done.
We didn't even talk about pardons. We just talked about presidential orders.
About that.
On our pardons podcast, where we haven't even said the word.
Yes.
All right. So let's go to pardons.
Yeah, and I don't know if is pardons mentioned in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution.
It is, so that
the president has the power to pardon.
I didn't know if that was just sort of implied by his powers, or
no, it is.
Well, cool. Yeah. So I mean, the big things are that Biden basically the last day in office, he basically threw out this massive net of pardons for Fauci, a whole bunch of family members. And
everybody on the January 6th committee, like a whole bunch of politicians.
Well, and let's just be clear. I mean, and we can discuss whether we agree with it, but his rationale was throughout Trump's campaign, he said he was going to go after these individuals using the Justice Department, right?
Yeah.
That he was going to try and prosecute all of these individuals, and he had given names, and the person he wants to put in charge of the FBI has a hit list. Right. He literally is carrying around a list of his enemies that he's made public. And so Biden preemptively pardoned most of these people because the Trump administration has been saying, we want to go after these people politically, and we're going to do it legally to kind of get them. And that's why Biden said, like, I don't like doing this. Again, we can debate whether it's the right thing or wrong thing, but that's what he said is, I don't like doing this, but I'm worried about the new administration engaging in political persecution using the Justice Department. So that's why I'm doing it. That's what happened, right? And it was a bunch
hypocritical.
Of
he doesn't like people weaponizing the DOJ, but he sure weaponized the crap out of that DOJ. Like, that's so problematic. It's crazy.
I
think we'll have to debate that a little bit, but
now, yeah, and then basically like a day later, Trump
pardoned 1,600 individuals, all of the people involved in the January 6th riot.
January 6th, right. And so This is the other side of that.
Yep.
Now, Biden did not pardon himself.
Nope.
And if I'm understanding correctly, Trump never pardoned himself before as well when he was in office, right?
No, but he had not been convicted of anything.
Sure, but just preemptive. But his claim has always been presidential immunity, not that I pardoned myself, right? When he was charged with different things. So that's interesting to me that that Biden didn't do it either, and so it's I don't know. I find that interesting. But.
Yeah, I mean the one possible kind of out for Biden and Trump is the Supreme Court decision that just came out fairly recently regarding Trump that basically says the presidents have broad level immunity for things they do acting as president. Right. So Biden may basically just be like, well, the Supreme Court passed it, so I'm good, right? I could just kill everybody while I'm president and peace out later.
I'm actually okay with that, right? Because that job has so much responsibility, and you don't want to make a decision in the spur of the moment, send in these troops, and it all blows up in your face, even though you're acting with your best intelligence. And then the next administration is like, we hated that. You're going to jail. That would be a bad precedent to set. But for Biden to just pardon all the members of his crime family and everybody he's in cahoots with and
his crime family.
That's what it is. We all know that's what it is.
No, I'm totally with you. And I always say one of the most stressful jobs, the job I never want is being a police officer, because it's one of the jobs that you can get arrested if you do it wrong, right? You could go to jail if you
in a split second you make one wrong decision and there goes your life.
That's crazy to me. I've had bad days at work and I've lost thousands and thousands of dollars. Never the chance of going to jail, right? I'm like, wow. I agree. Yeah. I agree. That would stifle my my thinking.
I think I agree at some level, but does that effectively then give the president free reign to just commit crimes willy-nilly?
No, President Trump was prosecuted for the Ukraine thing, and
but that's all pre the Supreme Court decision.
Right.
Post the Supreme Court decision,
I would
say Biden walk down the street and just shoot people in the head and be like, "I'm president, bitch!" Boom. That's literally what they said, right?
Theoretically, I think you're right.
Starts with that caveat, it's like, "I'm president, I'm president, I'm president," and just shoots people.
Wow,
he's good.
Totally.
You see what I'm saying, though? It seems a little bit extreme.
But I don't think. I don't think if that's happening, we got some problems.
You took that to an illogical extreme. But I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. I'm just picturing Terry Crews from Idiocracy. President, he's got the machine gun, just shooting it. I'm the president. That's funny. Totally. Well, right? Let's talk about the January 6th pardons, because I'm mixed on this one. January 6th. It's the only thing that the left can talk about. The only thing they have to hang their hat on. It's so silly. I have friends that are
lots of things, but we really you don't. We like this one.
You guys are so unhinged about it. Yeah. Well, you're so unhinged.
It was a riot to try and overthrow an election.
We had a year and a half of riots every day, and cities were burned down, and the left's like, well, that's okay because we got Black Lives Matter. And then the right has one small riot in DC, and they're like, oh, they're trying to it's an insurrection, run for the hills.
It literally was an insurrection.
No,
Josh.
It was not an insurrection.
Okay? What do you mean?
Let me get into my nuance.
They were trying to overthrow an election.
Yeah, let's hear your case, Josh.
Okay, so there was I don't know the numbers. Most of the people there were there for a rally, and then the crazy people that should be prosecuted, they broke into the Capitol.
1,500 to 2,000.
No, not that many.
That's how many have actually been prosecuted. It's 1,500.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have been. That's why Biden just gave immunity to the January 6th committee, because most of these people were just standing there, and then a flood of people go into the building, and they're like, oh, let's go in there and see what's going on. Most of them were not beating up cops. There was a very, very small minority that were instigating this and were attacking the policemen. Those guys should all be prosecuted. I'm okay with that. Everybody's okay with that. Those guys getting a pardon, that's and I understand why it happened, and we can get into that. I don't like that. But the rest of these people, they were just there at a rally, and it got out of hand. and we're going to lock them up for life because they walked into a building?
If that's the case, I probably agree with you.
That is the case. I think
we're probably really close. But I'm literally looking at some of the people here, right? I pulled up an article just because it was documenting some of the stuff that people had done, right? Here's one who dragged a police officer into the crowd and then repeatedly stunned him with a stun gun. Somebody else was beating him with a flagpole. And those people all got released.
Yeah, don't like that. I don't like that. I understand why they did it.
I don't understand why they did that. Can you explain why Trump pardoned everybody as a blanket pardon?
Him and Vance went back and forth on this. I actually read up on this a little bit because I wanted to understand their rationale, but I thought I understood before. They went back and forth on, should we do a blanket pardon or should we just pardon the people that are clearly innocent and didn't really do anything? They were just in the wrong place. You know, they got caught up in this. And they decided...
You would have liked that better, Ryan, if it had been like, we're pardoning, we're going to keep the convictions for these like 20 people,
I would have liked that
people.
Better.
Yeah.
I would have liked that
There's one guy, a judge called a one-man army of hate, who got 12 years in prison for beating the shit out of a police officer at the January 6th
I would have liked
riot.
that better.
That dude, he's out on the street.
Okay,
and
politically...
2 of the people who just got released are already calling for retribution against the police officers and the justice people who actually put them in, and they were the ones who organized the riot. That's happening right now.
I need to read up on them.
It was the leader of the Proud Boys. He's already calling for retribution against the people who prosecuted him.
Okay,
he wants to go after them.
It wasn't an organized insurrection.
Some of it was. That's the part. Some of it was.
If it was an actual organized insurrection, those people should be prosecuted. I don't like it either. Okay, if you actually attacked a cop. Okay, so their rationale, as far as I understand it, is this was a political thing to just get past it. Okay, if Trump's gonna get hung up on this, and in my mind, it's the right political move. If he wouldn't have done a blanket pardon, if he would have just pardoned some people and not pardoned other people, then you're just giving the left more things to talk about with January 6th, which we're also sick of because it's just you're unhinged if you're still hung up on it. Like, okay, it's bizarre. We've talked about it before, how bizarre the left is on this. Everybody agrees. 99.9% of people agree it was bad, but the left can't shut up about it. Like it's bizarre.
Okay, I got some numbers here. So tens of thousands attended the rally. They don't have an exact estimate.
Right.
About 2,000 to 2,500 breached the U.S. Capitol itself. And then of that, about 1,100 individuals have been charged with crimes. And the breakdown includes assault on officers, assault on law enforcement, over 300 individuals, obstruction of official proceeding, around 310 individuals, and seditious conspiracy, about 14 individuals, primarily members of groups like the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys.
Who they had literally organized armed individuals in hotels around D.C., so they could call them in case they needed them.
They should.
That's all organized. There's no question about them being organized to engage in a riot.
13 people.
Yeah, and honestly,
we're still talking about this.
Josh, you agree with me? Those 13 people should all be in prison still.
Sure. Absolutely.
And they are out of prison now because Trump was like, "They did my bidding. I'm cool with these guys."
Let me ask you the philosophical question.
Please do.
Would you rather 10 guilty people go free so one innocent man can go free? Or would you rather the innocent man suffers so you can prosecute the 10 guilty men? This is a philosophical question.
Okay. What did they do?
That doesn't matter.
No, it totally matters, right? Because if it's 10 guilty people who all stole a piece of gum, one person who also was accused of stealing a piece of gum.
You have 11 people that you locked up for murder. One of them's innocent. You're okay with that? Because I'm not. I would rather they all went free than one innocent man suffers the rest of his life in jail. Like, that's just where I stand on the philosophical question. And there's no right or wrong to the question.
Right, I know. I think I would generally agree with you until 5 of them go out and kill somebody else.
Then you can lock them back up. And I get,
you see what I'm saying, though? Like, that's the tricky part.
That's why it's a
very
tricky
tricky
question.
issue. Yeah.
But that's where I stand on it. So
Tom, ask Tom that question. Come on.
I'm the opposite. I'd lock him up.
Let the innocent one just rot.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, so there are a few nuances to this, right? That have come out. Like there were 29 FBI officers that were embedded within this group, and some of those officers entered the Capitol with others. Um, then you can get into a bunch of like there have been some outsized sentences for people that had entered that were like seemed completely ridiculous for the crime that they committed. And then there was like weird stuff like January 6th or start the committee and the hearings and then the televised thing where they did things like adding sound to video that was like silence, right, to enhance it. And like, why would you ever need to do that unless you were trying to create a hysteria and like a propaganda around it? So I definitely think there were a lot of injustices done by the left to enhance or to conflate the conspiracy of it and the magnitude of the crimes that were committed. Definitely some of that, but yeah, like, but there were definitely some legitimate things that happened for sure. And like, we don't want people regularly storming the Capitol when they're trying to confirm the presidential election, right?
Josh, you're okay with that?
I loved seeing Buffalo Hat Man carrying Nancy Pelosi's podium out. That was awesome.
So I think the part that, there are lots of parts that really bother me here, but the one that I think is just like the epitome of hypocrisy, right, is Republicans love to say that they're the law and justice party. We're all about supporting police, and they just let 300 people who assaulted police officers walk out of prison. They pardoned them for physically assaulting police officers. If you were a Capitol police officer, right, if you worked there right now, how would you feel? Does the Trump administration have your back at this point?
Well, did they have the Trump administration's back? But yeah,
I mean, they were genuinely trying to defend his vice president, right? As they were trying to hang him.
Oh my gosh.
They had gallows out there, Josh. Come on. Stop pretending like they didn't have gallows out there.
I'm not pretending
anything. They were chanting, kill Mike Pence. Like, come on.
I love that it's 4 years later and you're still so worked up that 300 people were dumb.
1,100 people were dumb. 300 hit police officers.
Okay. 1,100 people were dumb. I'm not even actually going to agree to that. Okay. If you have 300 people, you have a bunch of people gathered together, 300 people do something crazy and break into a building, and it looks like something interesting is going on. I know both of you as teenagers. I saw the crazy stuff you did. Are you telling me you're not going to be like, let's go in there and see what's going on? Well, now that's suddenly a crime. When you walk into the building, there's a whole bunch of people going in, and like crazy stuff's happening. I know you guys. I could tell some very illegal stuff that you guys did. Some crazy stuff.
It was mostly Tom and Mark. It wasn't me. I didn't do most of it.
I disagree. Okay. Luckily for you, the statute of limitations is passed. But do you mean to tell me if you were there when you were 18 years old, you would have been like, let's go check out what's going on? I would have.
I may, to be fair, I may have walked into the building. Would I have hit a police officer?
No.
That never happened.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Exactly. So if you hit a police officer, yes, you should be charged.
Good. And
you just
that's what I'm saying.
The building
we actually agree with that.
What the heck was going on? So that's the majority of the people that were charged with crimes, and they're calling that obstruction of justice because they didn't turn themselves in.
It sounds like we could agree that like Josh was saying, like if they had done a more nuanced pardon and
yeah, I think we don't agree with that.
I don't think the left would have been freaking out about that at all. If it was. No, they wouldn't. If it
you guys are so unhinged on this
Josh,
issue.
I'm on the left, right? So if they had said,
not really,
everybody who just walked in and took a selfie in the Capitol, like, you're fine. That, you shouldn't have done it. That was stupid. But seriously, like, that's fine. I'm not going to freak out about that.
Okay,
but they let the leader of the Proud Boys go, who had set up an armed insurrection.
Okay, we agree. But that's not what the left did. They went out of their way to prosecute everybody they could and made the charges as harsh as they could. what you're saying right now, if the left and the January 6th committee would have done that, if you just took a picture in there and you were just checking it out, go your way. That's not what the left did. Now they have to double down and freak out about it. So you can't tell me that if it was a more nuanced pardon, the left would have been okay with it, because that's not what they did. They made it as bad as possible for political capital. That's what this is. And now Trump has pardoned all these people for political capital. It was a political move, purely and simply. It was so he can move past it.
Well, I don't think he's moving past it. Now it's just egg on his face. He pardoned a bunch of police attacking, assault, and I mean,
you think that's going to stick on Trump? Good luck. You guys have been
nothing sticks on him.
No, you guys have been trying to tag him with this for 4 years. He didn't do
it. I think we're in agreement here, and I think Ryan's argument is valid, and I think you're agreeing with it, Josh. That
I made the argument. I was the one that said we shouldn't have pardoned those guys.
Yeah.
But
I think Ryan's saying he would agree to that would have been
Ryan's agreeing with that, but he's also saying that the left would be okay with that, and that's what I don't agree with.
I'm on the left. What else am I supposed to say?
You're not
on the left.
I represent all left people.
You're the most moderate leftist that I know. Then why did if you represent everybody, then why did the left go out of their way?
Represent everybody, but I'm saying
that's what
I'm
you're
on the left.
And Then why did the left go out of their way to appoint a committee to crucify everybody even remotely and tangentially involved?
Okay, why did Republicans set up 4 committees to prosecute Hillary Clinton's email server, Josh? Because it's politics.
Illegal.
It's politics, right? And what did they find? Nothing. They found nothing on Hillary Clinton's email server after 4 investigations.
She
right?
Smashed it with a hammer.
Again, do you get my point, right? Ignore the specifics and catch the general point. Why do they do these things? You're the one who literally just said it. It was all political.
Yeah.
Right? I'm fine conceding that. Yeah, it was political. Should the left have, I hate calling it the left, should the Justice Department have gone after the people who assaulted Capitol police officers? 100%. We all agree with that.
Agree. Yes.
100%. The people who had never touched anybody and just saw the doors open to the Capitol and were like, I want to go get a selfie in the Capitol, right? I'm probably fine with that. It was stupid, but as you said, Tom and I did some really stupid things, right?
Yes.
Really
people
stupid.
Do silly things.
Luckily, the statute of limitations has passed on most of those, and we're not going to say what any of them are. So
murder.
Yeah.
He didn't murder anybody, but that incident with the semi truck and the cones. I mean,
hey, quiet.
So, all right, let's talk about the other pardons then. Biden's pardon.
Biden's pardons. I mean, we kind of started. I gave a little bit of background of why he did it.
Yeah.
Do I like it? Nope.
Are you well, let's put it this way, because you already said his justification was because the pardons were because Trump had already and his followers had already said that they wanted to retaliate against some of these people. So let's take Fauci, for example.
Yep.
A lot of people have said he did some, he lied about a number of things and misrepresented stuff, maybe overextended, overreached on a few areas. Should he be held accountable to it?
Or what should be the consequence for Fauci?
Or and this is what I'd probably get to is that or are we just worried that we'll turn it into a political circus and it will turn into just a crazy mania of trying to get back at Fauci?
Yeah, my estimate, right? Let's say that Fauci didn't get this pardon. Republicans put together some special committee and a prosecutor. They appoint some prosecutor to go after him. And they end up spending what, 20, 30, 50, $80 million digging through everything they can find, showing that Fauci lied a half dozen times here, half dozen times here. He misrepresented some things. Probably shouldn't have done this. Probably shouldn't have done that. Right. And so after, 3 years of investigating and $80 million, they come back, they have some, trumped up political show in the Capitol where they're like, Fauci, you did bad. They slap him on the wrist and he leaves. And we're $80 million poorer as a country for nothing. Because that's how most of these investigations go.
Suddenly the liberals are fiscally conservative when they don't want to get prosecuted.
I'm always fiscally conservative, Josh. You know that.
I just had to take this shot. I know.
I know. I mean, am I wrong in what would have happened?
So that's a tough one. Probably not. But that's Fauci, and it depends on how deep the conspiracy goes and what he lied about specifically, and if he profited from it, right? If he did stuff bad enough to be in jail, I mean, and we don't know. That's the problem. We know some of the lies he did, but we don't know exactly. Like, he turned into a rock star overnight, and he was going to the Super Bowl and stuff, right? I don't know how much he made off of it. If he made money off of it, we should spend the money and prosecute him. And this should be what the Justice Department's doing. But so just give him a blanket pardon, I can tell you with 100% certainty that's not Biden going, well, we don't want to spend $50 million.
No.
He doesn't care.
No, none of them do. None of them do.
So this is not an issue of fiscal responsibility.
No, it's not. But this is why
maybe
I'm saying,
it should be. That's a better argument for not prosecuting them, but to not prosecute them just because they happen to be on the left. That's what it is. Again, it's political, and it might be more than political, especially where Biden's family is concerned, because that's not political. They really are criminals. That's personal. I saw this really funny meme the other day of Hunter Biden, and he's really sad standing in one of his paintings, and it's the day after the transition of power, and he's sitting there going, come nobody's buying my paintings anymore. it's really funny. But I mean, it's just patently obvious. There are people that were benefiting illegally off of this, and they just got pardoned. So again, this might be the same argument we just made. Some of the pardons maybe are justified. If there's a hit list and these people were going to be prosecuted for political reasons, that's silly. We shouldn't do that. Trump threatened the same thing to Hillary before he won the first time. He never prosecuted her. He didn't weaponize the DOJ like Biden just did. Yes, well, a couple of people are saying that they should, and Trump, he does say that. Yeah, we're going to go after them. We're going to lock these people up. But he doesn't have a track record of actually doing that politically. Now, if we get the Epstein list and some of these people are on there, like, that's kind of what it reeks to me. Some of these people are hiding something, and Biden knows about it, and they gave him pardons to protect his people. If there's criminal charges, they should be prosecuted. If it's political, okay, fine, I understand it. I guess that's a good way to sum up my view.
Tom, thoughts?
I think the issue, what I've seen happening all the time is like people like, it's like, what did Fauci do, right? He lied to Congress, right? That's, some people are accusing him of doing that. He probably did, based on what I've seen and about like gain of function, things like that, and U.S.'s funding of those efforts. And it's like this seems to happen all the time, though. Like, people come in and just say whatever the crap they want to Congress, and then there's no retribution, there's no like consequences for it, because Congress is so divided. They can't get like, because what was the guy, the baseball player who went to jail, Pete
Rose?
Pete Rose, for for lying to Congress, right?
Yeah.
About drugs. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think it was Pete Rose.
Or gambling. I can't remember it.
Yeah, Pete Rose was the gambling.
He was the gambler.
He was fixing games that he was playing in.
And he went to Congress, and like, because it was this weird thing where Congress has purview over is the commission on some sports or something like that. And so he got pulled to Congress and then said some stuff. Didn't turn out.
Roger Clemens.
Roger
Clemens.
Maybe that's him. And how long? I mean, that was like years ago, right? And you're like, who's And then you're like, wow, it was like
heaven forbid you fix a baseball game, but if you fix the economy and still taxpayers' money, that's cool. We're not going to prosecute you for
kind of
that.
right, and like that was years ago, right? And like no one has gotten in trouble since, and now and just lying like everyone's lying like crazy. Say whatever you want to Congress, and they'll be like, oh, remember, let me remind you, you're under oath, and you're like anything's gonna happen with that,
right? It
it's
doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything, right?
No.
It's a problem, right? That we even the people are just doing whatever the crap they want up there, and nothing. Doesn't seem to be the consequences because we're so divided, and it's making the president more powerful, which is a problem as well.
And it's almost like it's out in the open now. Like, these are all my people that are in my cabal, in my secret society. I'm going to give them pardons. Like, he just outed everybody that he's working with that are on his side.
It's like
we're not going to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Getting even more
what are you going to do about
more and more biased and biased. This gets this
have corruption. An insurrection.
I'm not with this guy. I'm just I'm standing outside the Capitol, not going in. Just
well, that's kind of the scary thing, right? The founding fathers said sometimes the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots. Like, that's why we have guns in case we need to overthrow the government.
It's true.
And then we had this mini insurrection. Everybody's like, that was terrible. Both sides agree that was terrible. And the left's like, don't you ever do that again, or we'll massacre you. So, okay, no insurrection in case the government takes complete control and we become a totalitarian state. What are we going to do? Like, that's where we're heading. The government accretes more and more power. What are we going to do about it? The left's so pissed off we had a mini insurrection.
What is the biggest threat to our country right now?
Oh, are we done on pardons?
Well, we're just kind of
this is all interrelated.
Seeing where it goes.
Okay.
Sure. As stated by the Defense Department.
Oh.
I want to say it was something really stupid, like bears or something.
Probably climate change.
You say bears?
I know it's not bears.
It's not bears.
That's where my brain went. But I remember hearing about this, and it was something really silly.
Bears.
No, it's
bears
not climate
are going
change.
to take over the. I know the Defense Department's worried about climate change because we have a lot of military bases right on the ocean.
Sure.
The one right here in Tampa, it floods regularly at high tide.
No, it's our spending.
Yeah, spending's a problem.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
Josh likes to say we're the poorest country on the planet.
We really are.
Simple math. Mm-hmm. It's just very simple math.
Well, at the very least, we're going bankrupt faster than any other country. That's true. And like, but no one's stopping that, right? And we're just we're just like
cares.
full blown. I mean, the only thing I've ever seen is this Doge thing that's like, and even talking about
it's not going to do a thing.
I have no idea, right?
I'm hopeful. At least somebody cares.
Elon. Never bet against Elon, but who knows, right?
I would put money that they will accomplish absolutely nothing.
But what if you're right, Ryan? What does that say? Like
that no one in the government gives a shit about spending our kids' money.
Well, but
Elon's not in the government. That's the beautiful thing.
Does that mean we're doomed?
He doesn't care. Yeah,
I think he does. Because Pocahontas, she thought she was really clever, saying, "Why, if you guys are all about efficiency, how come you have two people doing one person's job?" And the response was, "We're not getting paid for it. Why don't you stop taking a salary and then you can keep bitching at us, you idiot?" Right? So they're not in the government. They're not being paid. This is not their job. They're both rich. I think they do care.
Vivek Ramaswamy has already bowed out because we knew it was going to happen. He wants to run for governor of Ohio, and apparently he and Elon Musk didn't get along. Not surprised, right? So
I'm not betting against
Doge is down to 1, and he's already taken a position against the Trump administration. There is no way those two egos. There's no way those two egos are going to be able to stay together.
How does that not give you hope that he's not just in Trump's pocket? He already stood up to him once, and it seems fine.
The alternative, Ryan, is that we're doomed, right? And then actually, it's Josh's conclusion, right? It's insurrection, right?
How is insurrection going to pay our bills?
Well, it's if this government just takes us over a cliff, then we get a different one, right? That's kind of what.
Yeah.
That's the implication.
Okay. Insurrection.
Unite. All right.
Wait, where is it?
Separately from your own homes.
Introverts, I can't get it on the camera. Introverts unite separately from your own homes.
Insurrection.
I'm right there with you, Josh.
From your home in Tampa.
Yeah. Ryan's right behind you. Go for it. He's way behind you.
I was about to say, I literally would be right behind you, handing you bullets as you shoot, but you're going to be the one shooting because I don't have a gun. Paintball guns aren't that effective against people.
No.
Yeah.
So I guess I can aim for their eyes.
But again, do you see my point? That's the interesting thing about how pilloried this insurrection has become. And we all agree it was bad. It was dumb. Mm-hmm. But you take the Proud Boys and whoever, you almost have to say their heart's in the right place. They're just like 40 years too soon or something, right?
Right. In a way.
Yeah, because there's still hope that we're going to turn it around.
It's not that bad yet.
Yeah.
But we might need you guys in a few years.
Exactly. So maybe it's good they're pardoned and we're like, okay, guys, just take some Adderall, chill out for a couple years. We'll see what happens. And if Trump becomes supreme dictator for life, you're our guys.
Yeah, right.
We're behind you.
I'm going to agree with that.
Okay, cool. I like it.
Well,
that's way more agreement
than I thought.
If we look at history, right? Caesar, right? It's like abuse of power gets out of control. He gets killed, but it's too late because everything's a mess, and so we become an empire anyway, even though we killed the emperor, right?
Too much corruption already in the system.
Yeah, it's too right. Exactly. There's too much.
So that's what happens next.
Well, that's the hope with like Doge. Like they were there to try to get rid of some of this corruption. If we can keep the corruption at bay, there will always be some, but if we can get rid of some of it, well, then we keep functioning as a society. But as soon as the government has too much power, which this is kind of the theme of the evening, they just keep taking power and taking power. That's what governments do. That's just their function. That's how they work, and they attract people that want power.
Do you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, for quite a while I should just read it. A line on my email from Douglas Adams. Did you guys see that on my email?
Yeah.
I think I have.
He's one of the best philosophers of all time.
I know, he's absolutely wonderful. Let me see if I can find it. I think I still have it on one of them. Yeah. To summarize, it is a well-known fact that those people who most want to rule people are ipso facto those least suited to do it. To summarize the summary, anyone who is capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. To summarize the summary of the summary, people are a problem.
The pros, to summarize the summary of the summary, like he's just a genius with words.
Yeah, Douglas Adams, brilliant. So that's the restaurant at the end of the universe, and I agree every single thing that he said in there. Absolutely agree with it. Anybody who wants to be president should not be president.
That's why Washington was so good. That's where we started.
He didn't want to be it.
He didn't want it, but
so
he knew it was necessary.
We can all agree that pardons are probably getting out of hand.
200% they're out of hand, completely out of hand.
And these people are actually, a lot of them are probably guilty and should be
most of them
prosecuted, but we're not going to because they're friends with the right people.
Yep.
Yep.
And, which is kind of the definition of corruption, right? And
yeah. At some level, I would like to believe, and just bear with me for a second, and then you can tell me how crazy the idea is. But what if we genuinely had a completely independent Justice Department where the head of that was not appointed by the president?
The
DOJ, Department of Justice, right? Which they're the ones who do a lot of the prosecutions. So if they, and maybe the FBI as well, because they do a lot of the investigating, if they were completely independent.
Like the Fed.
Yes, right? They completely independent. Doesn't matter who's president. They're just going to continue doing what they're doing. Would that help at all?
Yes.
And again, that's like a question.
That?
I don't know.
Do you treat it like the Supreme Court? Like
appointed for life?
Yeah. How do you make sure it is independent? Because like the FBI is not supposed to be partisan, but they're clearly partisan. They tried to screw Trump, right? So how did like in theory, yes, but in practice, how the crap are you going to do that? How are you going to pull that off? Because I mean, clones.
Well,
well,
it'd be like the Federal Reserve,
maybe.
right?
Yeah. In theory, yes.
In
it would
theory,
be great.
Which I think they've done a decent job of trying to stay independent.
Yeah, to further extrapolate this thought experiment, I've thought it would be great in theory if we had an independent news organization but now you're shredding into totalitarian territory where you have the government running the news. That's bad. That's North Korea, right? That's China. But if we had a truly independent news source, we wouldn't have Trump accusing the media of all of this corruption, and we would actually believe what they told us. That's what capitalism used to allow us to do, but it doesn't work anymore for our news media. Now it's very partisan.
Yeah, and any efforts to like reset it would just partisan itself again.
Yes. That's the problem. So in theory, yeah, these are great ideas. If we could have truly partisan institutions, that would fix a lot of our problems. But how do you get there?
Non-partisan institutions. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Did I say partisan?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we had really even more partisan.
Yeah.
Let's put the Republican National Party in charge of the Department of Justice.
Oh no, screw it. Ku Klux Klan. If we're gonna go big, go home. Right?
And that's kind of what's happening, right? With the DOJ appointment, right?
That's why it's being weaponized. It becomes a partisan institution, and now you can't trust it. The trust in institutions, I think, is at an all-time low, and for good reason. We've become hyper-partisan even at the institutional level. Well, how the frick do we fix that? Ryan's idea of clones, or maybe, like Cylons or something. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
Yeah, but is there an AI out there that you trust?
No, they're all complete habitual liars. You can't trust anything.
Yeah. All right. I was just looking at what some of Donald Trump's appointments. But Pam Bondi, right? Yeah, Attorney General.
She said that while she's in charge of it, there would be no enemies list like Kash Patel, who's supposed to be in charge of the FBI. And I looked up his enemies list. It's 60, 70 people long, includes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but includes a whole bunch of people who've served under Trump who had a falling out with Trump. And they're all on his hit list.
That's a little weird.
I'm trying to find some of them that Rod Rosenstein, former deputy attorney general under Trump. He's on Kash Patel's enemies list.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't love that. I'm not gonna lie. I like a lot of the Trump appointments, but yeah, that kind of political prosecution and that's such dangerous territory. As soon as we start gelling our political opponents, now we're just Khrushchev. Like, this is just straight up Russian. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. We're bound. Good night, everybody.
So we should wrap up. I know we said we were going to be done, but right after the election, I think we had a conversation where we were talking about, like, Trump says a lot of things. Most of it's not going to happen, right? We'll see. We're still out there. But just before we got on this call, Debbie came to me and said, it seems like a lot of the stuff that the Trump administration is doing is really far away. It's in DC. She submitted a grant application to the National Institutes of Health in the fall. It was scheduled to be reviewed next week, and all grant reviewing has just been canceled at the National Institutes of Health. She just lost her grant.
Bummer.
So, and that just happened under the Trump administration. So the changes that they're making, they have literally just hit my house.
You don't know if that was a direct result of a executive order or something.
Yeah, that was.
Or just
100%. That was a direct result of Trump administration decisions.
I mean, on a personal level, I hate it because I love you guys. But again, like Tom said earlier, spending's out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm hopeful. I think Trump and his crew are trying to make an actual effort to get rid of some of the waste and some of the spending. And that's a good thing. Even if it hits close to home, and I know a lot of people are losing their jobs and stuff, and that's not great, but when the government's bloated, like I've talked about Milei in Argentina, right? They just had a surplus. He cut everything. He slashed all the government spending. He slashed all the government programs and all the government power, and they just had a surplus. He's turning it around, and that was a crap show. And it was painful, but he's turning it around. If Trump can even do a percentage of that, I'm going to call it a win. And again, I don't want him persecuting people for political gain, but he didn't do that the first time around. So we'll see if that happens. But again, let's just be hopeful here. I hope that's really what he's trying to do, is get rid of the corruption, some of the corruption, and some of the overspending. If he does, that's a win. Sorry, that's good.
I honestly think it is the only and best chance we have of saving the republic.
Yeah,
that's
is what
is Doge is the efforts on Doge.
Is Elon Musk?
Why do you keep betting against the guy?
Is Doge?
He's incredible.
It's the only chance. Like I said, the Department of Defense is like, our spending is the biggest thing to our national security, we are going. That will undermine. There's nothing that will undermine this country faster than
I agree.
So in that context, the best chance we have of saving is to try to reduce the spending, and which is taking a chainsaw to everything and going nuts. And will he succeed? I am very doubtful, but the problem is like you said, you never bet against Elon. Like, if anyone can do it, he can do it. And so I'm hopeful. I have this little bit of optimism, but probably we'll fail.
I have a lot of optimism, actually. I mean, there's stuff that's very concerning. Although the politicking is still very concerning, but the fact that Doge exists and Trump's willing to put somebody with that big of a personality, and Elon already stood up to him once, and
it's even being talked about.
Trump didn't fight him. He didn't fire him. He's like, well, okay, I guess there was a lot of nuance with this bill, and we'll kick it back to Johnson. And I think Trump at least understands that. And in one of the interviews, he talked about he was planning on bringing a lot more money into the economy before COVID hit. He loves his tariffs. He loves that. It's his new favorite word, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he at least kind of understands the problem. So I'm willing to give him a shot. I'm not on that deranged Trump syndrome, never Trump bandwagon. And I kind of used to be back in the day. I didn't vote for him the first time. I like a lot of what he's doing. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful he can at least delay the inevitable insurrection by fixing some of the corruption and some of the overspending.
Yeah. Ryan? Hopeful?
I appreciate your optimism. Genuinely, I appreciate it. I am not remotely hopeful because I can't think of anybody more corrupt than Donald Trump. The guy is a grifter his core. To his core, he's a grifter.
Oh,
if Biden was president, you'd be more optimistic
about the future of our economy? No.
Yeah. No. Okay. That's what I'm checking.
At least you're honest.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, point to me the politician who's actually fiscally conservative and actually wants to try and fix our debt.
Who has a track record?
I don't know a single one.
Trump has said that's
maybe Bernie Sanders.
One of his goals. Oh, gag.
No, I'm just saying.
I agree with you, Ryan. That's why this whole Doge thing and Elon Musk is hopeful, but he didn't do anything during his administration.
Nope.
I mean, granted, there was COVID, but it was Spendfest, right? And it's been
under Trump 1, it was Spendfest. Under Biden, it was Spendfest. Under Trump 2, Spendfest. Just wait for it. It's going to happen.
Well, what I think is going to happen is there'll be an economic crisis, and we will lower the rates, and we will spend, baby, spend. We'll print, baby, print.
Ugh,
and we will spend our way,
It's
and
gonna
we'll
lead
just
to
say, oh, well,
inflation.
we've got this problem. We have this problem, and so we need to spend in order to fix the problem, which will just put us back into inflation 2.0, which will probably be hyperinflation. But anyway,
Okay, if that happens, I hope it doesn't. If that happens, what if we stage a mini insurrection just to get Milei from Argentina elected president? I know it's illegal. He's not born here, but it worked for Argentina. Let's get him as president. He'll fix it.
I hope so.
You guys down? You guys down?
The only thing I don't agree with what Malay's doing is the dollarization efforts, which is basically he's like, we need our inflation's out of control. Let's hook it up to the dollar. And like, and the truth is the dollar has been more stable than other currencies, but it's not. It's like the you know, you have to shove 3 apples up your nose. Pick the smallest one, right? You know, like, well, the dollar is not the least worst of all of them.
They should go with the Norwegian kroner.
Jeez.
No G's. They have over $1 trillion in reserves.
Yeah.
That country is loaded.
It is
loaded. They have so much money. It averages out to $200,000+ per citizen that they have invested.
Okay, but they don't have very many people. Like
6 million.
Yeah, that's not very many people.
I know.
Yeah, the Scandinavians they're all those countries are doing pretty well for themselves.
Yep.
They have problems too. They do. Their cost of living is insane. They have some crazy immigration issues. But yeah, when you have a small homogenous population, it's way easier to
Norway
vote on
had
things.
oil. Norway had oil, and they nationalized most of that oil wealth. And now they have electricity generation through water power that they're selling to the rest of Europe. Yeah. So they're killing it, but it's also smart investing. They're not spending more than they're bringing in.
Right. They're actually tucking it away.
It's weird how that simple 3rd grade math is really what's important, right?
Yeah.
Don't spend more than you make. It's
a pretty easy
It's so
idea.
complicated.
You know, like most of us have to do that, but our government
But not
doesn't.
the government. That's the problem. The government doesn't get held accountable for this stuff.
Tell you what, Josh, you and I will run for president, vice president. We'll run against each other on one platform, and that platform is a constitutional amendment that says we have to have a balanced budget.
Nobody would vote for it. That's the problem. Honestly, would the left vote for it if we
would
did?
The right?
They would
probably not. Well,
probably not.
We talk about it.
Yeah, they talk about it more. That's more of a platform issue for the right. But the left, it would be like a balanced budget. But our real thing is save the trees, like climate change. Then the left would vote for it. Like it's we wouldn't win, bro. That's what I'm saying. We would need an actual
insurrection.
No, we would need a platform of like save the planet with guns. Maybe we would get both sides, right?
Everybody shoot a tree.
If we invented guns that
a tree
that plant trees.
Yeah, that if we shoot guns that the bullets after they kill you, they plant a tree. We might get both sides. We might get both sides.
Here's
now that you've buried that bullet into a fertile, like a nice fertile body, it's gonna rot and decompose. That tree's gonna grow.
You know,
oh my gosh.
I'm seeing
that's our platform. That is our platform. We will kill people and plant trees with guns, but we're gonna balance the budget as a result.
It kind of pleases everybody.
Plant a tree. Well, we had surprisingly quite a bit of agreement tonight. So that's good. A lot of common ground.
Lots of common ground.
Awesome.
Okay. I think that's it. We did it.
Tune in next time for our in-depth conversation on kill a politician, plant a tree. I love this idea. My mind is racing. There's
those possibilities.
There are.
Oh,
we need to brainstorm this.
But if we're running, doesn't that make us politicians? So it's kind of a bad platform.
Yeah, that's not a very good. Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good night. See you later.
See ya.
Good night.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
Listeners can get their own Lux bidet with 10% off by ordering at luxbidet.com and using our promo code FCBG10, Finding Common Battlegrounds 10.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.